This is the Todd Shapiro Show on Canada Talks, SiriusXM 167.
Okay, welcome back to the program. One of my favorites, candid individual, and just a good dude all around. Former president of the Toronto Police Association, and now doing multiple different things, including writing, directing, books, this, that, and also working for 360 Secure. How you doing, Craig Bromell?
Good, Todd. How are you, man?
Dude, I'm good. You know, it's good. Booked a trip to go away in a couple of weeks. I'm good. You know,
right.
you gotta think down the road. You gotta give yourself something to look forward to, as they say.
No matter what we do, R&R is important.
You're right. Do you ever get R&R? Do you relax well? Do you compartmentalize, Craig?
I do. I try to include business and pleasure as much as I can because I have a number of things on the go, but I still have downtime. I look forward to it. I think it's important for everybody to put yourself in a position where you can get some rest. It's important, especially in this day and age. I think it's better for you moving forward if you can fit it in.
On the business side of things, I saw that 360 Secure, they just reported record revenues in the third quarter of 2019 and a break-even adjusted EBITDA. How are things going over there? It's
good. We had a great announcement yesterday. Things are well, and it's really we're very happy with it because of the cannabis industry in itself it's taken a real smack in the face for a number of reasons. But we're doing. It was a good report. It was a good quarter, and we're looking forward to the next one.
Happy to hear the good news. And again, it's 360 Secure Corp, and it's a publicly traded company. And how'd the shareholder call go?
It was good. It was positive. We have a lot of shareholders. They own the company. They make it clear. It's one of those things when you go public, it's never good enough. You always want more, no matter who you are. You should listen in on the Disney calls. As good as they are and where they've come from and where they are now, it's still, you're going to have people that are concerned, rightfully so. It's their right. Always want more, always want better. And it makes you try even harder to, as we are at 360, to make it better for our shareholders. A very competitive world, but we're quite happy with the results yesterday.
And Craig Bromell, we saw a big historic day really in the United States where you're expanding to as well, where today the Congressional Committee had approved a bill to end federal marijuana prohibition. And basically it's still pretty early, but it seems as though the dominoes are falling. Yeah,
and we really saw that coming. I think everybody did. At the end of the day, Todd, there's so much tax money involved in this on the legal side of it that it really it was a no-brainer. The rest of the world's going there, and I think it will help all aspects of it. It's going to help even us here in Canada. So it definitely was a good news story.
It's sort of exciting to follow the story of cannabis. How with 360 Secure are you? Is there more active expansion into the States?
Yes, there is. We're making inroads there. We're looking at all possibilities definitely on the transport side, and I think it was a nervous Nelly down there because of the Fed side. It's a cash business. Banks weren't involved. So now I think it's going to take time. We're not going to notice this overnight, but I think it will, very much turn into like liquor or beer down there. The regulation, same type of situation, and it is a good move. But again, this will take time. This could be a year or two down the road before there's a comfort zone. I think also the federal government down there saw that almost every state was approving it, passing it, and then it makes it easier for us on the transport because if you got a couple of states that legalize it, you can't transport across a state that doesn't. So it was a bit of a logistics nightmare. So now it just it helps us on the transport side, transporting the product that helps us in moving forward.
I mean, and that's moving forward is what it's doing, and still tons of growth, obviously, and it's been an interesting time in the cannabis sector. We often talk about the black market going on in Canada. And one thing you said last week or a couple of weeks ago is there was thoughts of maybe even 360 Secure doing their own sort of investigative work, because it appears the Canadian government just doesn't want to crack down on that. Any advancements there?
Yeah, we have moved forward. We've done a lot of gathering a lot of evidence moving forward. Is a big problem out there. There is, it's out there, and and then really, if you see things like, especially here in Ontario, the situation with the storefronts or the retail was really bad. And you take a community like Barrie, Ontario, that they have a lot of people that are into the cannabis up there, whether it's rec or medicinal. They don't have any stores up there. So where else are you going to go but the black market? So we need assistance from the governments to smarten up and get moving on this. Right now, a year in, there should be at least 200 stores in the province, 1,000 stores in the country, and that helps fight the black market. It helps, have another. If you're in Barrie and what are you going to drive 60, 70 kilometers to a store to buy something worth $10? It's just not going to happen. So common sense is going to prevail here, I hope, and the governments, whether it's the provinces or the feds, are going to smarten up and make it easier for this to succeed.
Is there any chance of this reversing soon, though?
I think it's definitely it's long term. I think we're seeing this in the even the investors in cannabis, not involving 360. We're a security company, but on the cannabis with the licensed producers, we're seeing everybody's taking a hit right now. And the problem is, I say to licensed producers, even the big ones, I say, you're not really in competition with each other, the legal ones. You're in competition with the black market. And even the government coming in with a tax freeze of some kind for say 6 months or 12 months would help. Make it easier to make it easier to come through and make it so that the private sector can open up retail instead of doing these lotteries and all that. So anybody that wants to go in, and you got to pass a smell test. You got to, make it pass, do the screening, make it so that you can do it, and you answer the questions. And we don't want bad guys taking over. So if you can pass the test to open up retail, you should be able to make it open for anybody that wants to do that. That's interested in that can raise the money, because it's an expensive process to start it up. So we're hoping that happens. We're hoping there's an announcement in the next little while regarding that. And it just makes sense. It comes down to common sense to get this thing going, including it'd be great to offer up some type of tax freeze. It's a big part of the product being so much more expensive than the black market. So things like that. And it's doable. It's a stroke of a pen to give the product a chance to succeed quicker. I mean, you make a good question there. Is it really going to happen quick? Those things, the government, if they put things like that in place, it will help, and will help to make it. Health Canada has to be concerned, because the black market, you don't know what you're getting, and having quality control through the legal part of this will help. So there's issues like that also. So I'd like to hear more from Health Canada on making sure that the black market's being tackled in the right way.
Yeah, it's almost like they're being too strict and stringent on the legal side, and completely sort of lackadaisical, and anything can fly on the black market side. That maybe they could just lighten, like you're saying, Craig Bromell, the laws a little bit, the way that stores can open, maybe bring down the price, as you said, and maybe not taxing it as high. So this opportunity becomes just that, an actual opportunity for success, and get rid of one of the illegal side. It really, every week, the more I study it, the more it amazes me. But I don't want to sort of sit here and, as they say, beat a dead horse or anything. We just kind of can hope for change, and it's good to see companies like 360 Secure Corp, which you're a big part of, really want that change, not only for the success of their business and their shareholders, but just because it's the right thing to do. Craig, just to change topics a little bit, I was thinking about you the other day, I think yesterday or the day before. I read a really sad report, actually, where an OPP officer had just taken their life. Staff Sergeant Jeff Harmer took his life, and then I sort of read some statistics that it was apparently around the 14th OPP officer to commit suicide since 2012. And it, this stuff hits home to me because one, their suicide has been in our family, but I've always tried to pay attention to everything the police are doing and really be very pro-police because to understand their pressures to do things that many of these men and women do that I would never do, and never take that for granted, which I think society has often done, so easily blaming police officers. And this job become really very much more stressful for some, and to the point where lives are being taken. And I'm just so sorry to hear that that's happening.
Yeah, it has. To answer you as truthfully as I can, it has. It's a much different job now. You're much more of a social worker. However you're feeling about political correctness is a big part of law enforcement now, and I don't agree with that because police officers can't deal with. I mean, they're on the job training. Whatever training you have, you're really making it up as you go along because you don't know what this shift work's going to bring to you, and because of that, more pressure, more expected of you. When there's a bad story or a negative story about a police officer in the media somewhere, it affects everybody out there. And there's only so much. They're human beings, and I know that all the police services out there, including the OPP, are trying to do everything they can to get to the bottom of this. But, with mental health, we know it affects all of us. We all have family members or friends that are suffering from it. Police officers are no different. When I was working on the streets and very much involved with law enforcement, it was a problem that you just moved on. But the pressures of the world have changed. There's no doubt about it, including law enforcement. And I think there's just more pressure on them today. You really, every move a police officer makes, this is anywhere, your actions will be dissected by 12 or 13 different agencies. You could pass the first 12 and the 13th or 14th one will say that you did something wrong, you screwed up, and we're going to make you accountable. So it's a confusing profession now. They want to act. They want to do certain things. They're very frustrated. And believe me, on the emotional side, police officers get really upset. In fact, there's more gunplay now. They're up against it. They're concerned about that. They're frustrated, when they take the carding system away because they just wanted to do their jobs. And that plays on them. Again, it's the human side of it. They're not machines. They're not anymore. They're not machines. There's more pressure on them. I think that with mental health, I don't know. It's a long-term problem solver, and I'm talking years to get to the bottom of this. And I know that they're trying everything they can to get on top of it. Some of the OPP, some of the other police services have great employee assistance programs. They're called family employee assistance programs. So they're doing everything. They're throwing money at it, but one's too many, Todd. So, and there has been a lot. And so it has to be have to get to the bottom of it to find out, to make it better for everybody. Because even the community loses out an officer when he or she takes their life. Everybody loses on that one.
Yeah, it's very, very tough for families and community and friends. And you're right. I'm glad you mentioned that there's sort of programs where people can reach out to, especially within the force. And I mean, listen, I say it with a chuckle because I can't imagine how difficult the job is. And when I hear about the increased gunplay and stuff, we think about it. So it's funny how selfish we almost all are as civilians. Are like, oh, we're worried about this neighborhood. We're worried about going there. Well, what about being the one who's got to stop that perpetrator or the person with the gun? We often don't think about the worries that they have. And now, oh, wait a second. They're so closely watched and so carefully, every move monitored. And are they on videotape and everything? And I really feel for officers, and I hope that there are ways that we can allow them to just do their jobs. And quite frankly, us on our end, just shut up and let them do it, okay? Because it's for the good of all of us.
Yeah, I very quickly, I always give the example. You have the copper does a great job, hero job, policeman of the month. But the moment he or she goes out the next day and gives a radar ticket out to somebody for speeding, there goes that hero status to that person. So we get both ends. I've always said if the firefighters were doing radar, they wouldn't be as loved as they are today.
Well said. Yeah.
So that plays on the coppers. You're a hero one day, and you do your job and enforce a bylaw or you enforce do radar and all that, and there goes that status out the window. And it is part of the job, but it can play on your mind. There's no doubt about it.
Well, I hope if there's any officers listening that they can know there's always help in their corner, and really anyone who's suffering with any bit of stress and depression.
Yeah, that's anybody. And it is out there. It's I think we're doing better at making sure people get help. And again, it's like it affects all of us, Todd. It affects whether it's family members or friends and all that. It's out there, and it's a big problem.
Yeah, it's. I can tell you, my quite candidly, my wife's sister committed suicide just a few years ago, and you when you see it hit so close to home, you just want to make sure that everyone on some level is doing well, and not to get too too much of a social message here, but that's why I'm always so amazed how people attack everyone so easily on social media, whether it's just a political difference or something Trump said, and yet they'll just go and rip in you. You never know when someone is going through a really hard time, and that one comment can drive someone over the edge. So I hope we can find a way to be kinder towards one another, even if we disagree strongly with that person, because it just seems very hypocritical as they're the first people to go and retweet about Let's Talk or something, but do they really stand by it and mean it? And, I always try and get that message across.
Yeah, social media has brought out the cowards in us.
Well said.
It really has. It's people that are sitting around that wouldn't have the balls to say it to people's face. And that's the negative side of this. There's some that are really bad out there, but they're cowards. They're affecting a lot of lives, but they wouldn't have it to do it in person, or, a lot of them don't ID themselves. And I think we have to just remember that, they're punks most of the time, and they don't deserve any attention. And unfortunately we give them too much.
Yeah. And I'm to blame for that.
No, it's the bullying and all that. That's the way, society's gone, but it'd be great if we could supervise this. Somehow we can, keep an eye on this, and people that are vicious like that are going to bring harm to individuals, if we can somehow police it and supervise it so people are left accountable. Right now they're cowards. It's easy to be a coward to do it because nobody's going to hold you accountable. And I think it's frustrating for a lot of people. The giants out there, the Facebooks, and these people they can police it if they want. They can bring in rules, and the federal governments around the world could bring in the rules to police this if they really wanted to. And maybe they start thinking about it.
Yeah, but then we can't show that data, Craig, of all the users to charge extra amounts in advertising as money makes the world go round, right?
It does. Yeah, it does. That's the reality. But I think there has to be a common ground here because we could talk about this for 2 hours. That it's the social media side of this. The world we live in now is, it affects all of us one way or the other.
Yeah, well said. Well, and one thing while we're on this topic, if people are so quick to judge what certain individuals have said in the past and how it's cost them their job, we saw it with Don Cherry this week. You got to be careful what you say online, because someone might go and dig deep on what your statements were if you're going for a job interview, or they can hold it against you one day. Maybe 30 years from now, you do want to be the CEO of a big company. They might find that. So don't think that you're immune to it as well.
No, and I think it's simple with Don. If he had apologized, he'd be on TV. Trudeau started that. All you got to do is apologize. You and I talked about it. I talked with somebody else about it. Trudeau started the process where just apologize and you'll survive. So whether you mean it or not, just apologize. And Don just really believed he wasn't trying to get that point across. But if he had said a sincere sorry, if I had insulted anybody, I'm absolutely apologize for it. It was that simple, which kind of makes it phony. Because if he had apologized and just made it up and he didn't really feel it, like he's a good actor, he could make it come across like he's sincere, it would have been over. So that's the society we live in now. And
Craig, you're the only one who brought that to my attention with the Trudeau thing, is what you said, and I'll never forget. You're right. You said that it makes it a little dangerous because it means you can almost do things and say things, and just because you apologize for them, then it makes it okay, which shouldn't be the case if you think about it. And,
no.
Sort of Cherry died with the brand because he knew he didn't mean what people thought he meant, but then now all of a sudden you can go and drop anything and just say sorry and go on. Well, that's not right.
No, it's not. And Trudeau started that Todd, for the rest of our lives, you and I, as long as we live, another generation or so, we all we have to do is apologize now. They can't hold it against you. Your employer can't hold it against you. Just hold up Trudeau. I mean, it started the whole process. And believe me, there's people lining up to do it. If the PM could do it and get away with it. I'm not talking about the election. I'm talking about before the election. He was not held accountable by anybody because he apologized. And what he did, if you and I or other people out there had done it, and with certain employers, if we had not apologized, we'd be fired. So he started the trend. And the people are going to use it. You're going to see it in the news. You're going to see it. People are going to get in trouble. All they got to do is apologize. And it's not just the racial side of it. It's other things. It's Me Too. It's all that. Just lie and come up with a excuse that you're going to apologize, and it's over. And just use Trudeau. Here, he did it. He got away with it. Why is it not good for me? And it's going to cause problems with employers down the road who want to get rid of people because they have a history. Trudeau had a history here. It wasn't one-off. He did it several times. So it's even worse. So if you have an employee or an employer, or you're a victim of it, what if you're a victim of something like that? Listen, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do it. I really apologize. That's the end of it now.
Well, yeah, it's an interesting precedent he set for sure. Well, Craig, I always appreciate your candidness, and I'm really happy to hear the great results coming out of the last sort of news release and third quarter report of 360 Secure, 360secure.com, again, with the record revenues in the third quarter and this break-even adjusted EBITDA. So great stuff, and we look forward to more news releases and incredible advancements from the team as they're protecting, really, not only executive protection and money protection, but your cannabis transports, and we all know the cannabis industry isn't going anywhere. Thank you, Craig Bromell.
Todd, thanks for the support. Really appreciate it.
Of course, my man.
This is the Todd Shapiro Show on Canada Talks, SiriusXM 167.